everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking Disney expectations versus reality. I know when I was planning my first Disney trip, I had a lot of expectations about what it would be like and what we had to do to be able to navigate it properly, and all these ideas about what Disney World was like that really didn't turn out to be totally true. So today I want to go through 9 of my Disney expectations and talk about what the reality of those things were. My first Disney expectation was that it was going to be easy to get there from the airport. Now, this is maybe a non-issue if Disney's Magical Express sounds enticing to you. If you're staying on Disney property, you can take the Magical Express for free. It's a bus that takes you to your hotel from the Orlando airport. They'll also take your baggage from baggage claim as long as you're coming into a specific terminal, and they'll take you straight to Disney World without any trouble. Now, sitting on a bus with a bunch of families going to Disney World really didn't sound very enticing to me, and so I thought, well, we'll just take a taxi to Disney World. It's not that hard, is it? Turned out to be a lot more difficult than it should have been. And maybe this was a very isolated experience, but we got into a taxi and we said, we're going to the Polynesian, and he said, where? And we were like, Disney World, the Polynesian? And he was like, nope. So then we had to put in the actual address of the Polynesian at Disney World and have him drive us there with the GPS. It was very weird. I don't know if that's a common experience with cabs in Orlando or if we've just gotten a weird one, but yeah, that was definitely not my expectation. I thought we were just gonna hop in a cab and they were gonna take us to the Polynesian, but no. We did get there fairly easily though, so it wasn't such an issue, but definitely something that took me by surprise. So my number 2 expectation was that we would be busy all day. People tell you there are so many things to do at Disney World, and there are tons and tons of things to do, but I kind of wasn't thinking that there are a lot of things I'm not interested in doing, and I didn't really factor that into the amount of time that we would need throughout the day. I'm not a big thrill ride person, my family are not big thrill ride people, and so a lot of those big ticket rides that would take a lot of time in line or waiting for, we just weren't gonna do. So we ended up having a lot of free time at Epcot because we weren't riding Test Track or Mission Space. We ended up having 3 extra hours before our dinner reservation where we just weren't interested in doing anything new. I think that people will tell you that there are unlimited, infinite things to do at Disney World, and there definitely are, but you do need to take into account how much of it you want to do. Just because there are things to do doesn't mean you actually want to take part in them, and so I would put a little bit more thought into whether or not you're going to need 8 hours at a park to do all of the things you actually want to do, not just everything in the park. We ended up having a lot of free time at Disney World because there were things we didn't want to do, and I think that factoring that in and having a bit more of a plan surrounding those times would have been helpful in making our days a little bit more full and a little bit more relaxing, so we didn't have to kind of wander around and figure out what we wanted to do or if we wanted to ride something again. So my number 3 expectation was that we'd be surrounded by kids all the time. Disney World is obviously a family destination. It's a big place to take your kids. And I kind of had this expectation that we would be the only adult-only party at Disney World, which is obviously not the reality of it. I think the first dinner we sat down to, we had a family next to us, then probably most of the people in that restaurant, it was Ohana. You can watch my Disney trip dining breakdown here or here. I don't know whether it's gonna flip it. We were sitting down at Ohana, and other than the one family beside us, really there weren't that many families in the restaurant. Now, mind you, we were eating very late at 9:30, but still, we didn't see that many kids throughout our trip anyways, and when we did see them in the park, obviously, I didn't see a single meltdown. I thought kids were really, really well behaved there. I have nothing bad to say about the kids at Disney World, which really wasn't my expectation at all. So my number 4 expectation was that the food wouldn't be very good. Now, this was one that I kind of knew wasn't going to be true. I obviously am a big fan of AJ at Disney Food Blog and the Dis Unplugged guys who do all the dining show reviews. I really knew a lot about food at Disney World, but in the back of my mind, I was still like, it's a theme park. The food can't be that good. We originally weren't going to go to Le Cellier, which we did. Again, dining review. We originally weren't going to go to Le Cellier because I thought, why would I pay for a really expensive dinner at a theme park? And it was a really, really good steakhouse, like a legitimately good steakhouse, which wasn't what I expected at all. So I wish that I had listened to what the people at all those shows that I was watching actually said about the food at Disney World and kind of put aside this idea that it was theme park food, because theme parks and Disney World, I think, are kind of in two different realms generally. My number 5 expectation was that we would feel sad on the day we weren't in Disney. So at the recommendation of really most Disney people on the internet, we took a day where we weren't in the parks. I actually ended up sleeping most of that day, and that's the reality of it. I was so tired halfway through that trip that I am so thankful we took that day off. I don't think I would have enjoyed the following 2 days the same way if we hadn't taken that time to actually just chill and not be in a park and have kind of a vacation from our vacation. I was not sad at all. And I think I felt like I was wasting a day at Disney World when really I was taking a day to enjoy everything else that Disney World had to offer without actually being in the parks. My number 6 Disney expectation was that I needed more extras. Now, I had booked a few extra kind of things for our trip. We did a fireworks dessert party for, are they happily ever after fireworks now? Anyways, we booked a fireworks dessert party for those fireworks, and then we did a early morning magic at Toy Story Land, and I kind of had it in the back of my head like, should we be doing something else? Should we be doing an after hours? Should we be doing like a dining package? Should we be doing something like that? And I am happy that I didn't book more extra things, because I think my idea was that Disney World was going to be insufferable if we didn't have those kind of things where we were away from the crowds and like put in a different place, and I really don't think it was. Now, I am really happy that we did that early morning magic in Toy Story Land. We got to ride the 3 rides in Toy Story Land that we wouldn't have otherwise. I don't think we would have wanted to wait in those lines, and so I'm really glad we did that. But it came at a considerable cost, right? It was a pretty expensive thing to do. The same with that fireworks dessert party. It was a lot of money, and I don't know that it would have been worth it to do that if we hadn't already done it, if that makes sense. I think on our next trip we will absolutely be doing another dessert party, because it was really, really nice to not be in those crowds and have to deal with all of the people and find a space and do that. But I don't know that it's necessarily worth the money. It's the same thing I always say about the dining plan. You're paying for convenience, not actually for value. You can eat $100 worth of chocolate covered strawberries at the dessert party. I do think they provide alcohol now at all of the dessert parties. At the time we went, they weren't doing it in the Magic Kingdom. So that definitely does increase the value of that price quite a lot. But still, I don't think that I would have booked any more extras than I had now that I've seen what they're really like, but I'm glad I did previously. My number 7 expectation was that people would be mean. I think that a lot of what we hear about people at Disney World is that it's kind of like people at their worst, and I really disagree with that. I think a lot of people were really at their best at Disney World. A lot of the people I was around were really, really well behaved and really respectful and really kind. I did see one family get in a bit of an altercation, and I really didn't agree with their parenting style, but I think that's a separate issue, and I don't know if it was necessarily my place to butt in and tell them that I disagreed. But otherwise, other than that one altercation in a line, I thought everyone was really, really nice, and really nice to me always. Within their families, they had their own problems, but outwardly really, really kind and really respectful. Which is why I think with the recent reopening, a lot of people are kind of condemning the sort of people that go to Disney World, and mind you, I would not go anywhere near Disney World right now, but I do think that there's kind of a stigma around Disney people that they're not good at following rules or expectations or being respectful, and I really think they are, and I think that that's an incorrect idea about those kinds of people. Next up, we have number 8. We would feel stupid. This kind of goes hand in hand with my expectation that there would be kids everywhere. I kind of thought that being an adult group would be weird, that we wouldn't really feel in it properly, or that meeting Mickey Mouse would be awkward, and I was totally wrong about that. I was totally wrong about the kind of culture at Disney World about that sort of thing. I think that if you are willing to buy into the magic of Disney World, which is why you're there, it is very easy to feel like you're part of it. Disney does a great job with that, and I think that a lot more of Disney World is tailored to adults than we give it credit for. I mean, Walt Disney created the Disneyland, Disney World idea after seeing that his kids were the only people enjoying a theme park, and he wanted a theme park for all ages. And I think that totally shines through at that park. That you are totally allowed to be in that magic as an adult and totally welcome there. And as long as you're willing to be part of it, they're willing to have you be a part of it, which I think is really nice. So I didn't feel stupid at all. I wore my mini ears every day. My mom also wore her mini ears every day. We definitely didn't feel out of place or stupid or not welcome there because we were older than like 10. And my number 9 expectation was that it would be crazy busy. Okay, this was kind of true. It was really busy, but it was much more manageable than I had given it credit for, especially if you've planned properly. If you've put the time into planning, getting your fast passes and your dining reservations, you'll get everything you want to do at Disney World. No matter what the crowds are, we were there at spring break, at one of the busiest times of the year, and we got everything we wanted. You don't have to be worried about the crowds at Disney World as long as you're not going in just figuring you're going to wait in line all day. If you want to do that, be my guest. As long as I had planned properly, we were happy with everything that we had done. We had everything finished by the time we were like ready for dinner, and the crowds really didn't bother us that much. If we wanted to get away from the crowds, we went to Frontierland instead of Fantasyland right away. We veered left instead of right. We did that sort of stuff that really leads to you being alone in the park and not that busy. So you really don't have to worry about the crowds as long as you are prepared to study them and understand them and do that research. You'll be fine. So there are 9 of my Disney expectations versus reality. I'm going to put out a few more videos this week regarding some things that are happening at Disney, some news, trying to keep current, and then we're going to get into some real nitty-gritty planning, talking park passes, talking hotel reservations, talking dining reservations and fast passes for my trip next year. So hopefully you'll stick around. I'll see you guys soon.